the game on the line, you can't fold and you can't bend. Y'all be playing it safe and I be going for the win. Remember back when they was doubting on the kid. Now they tuned in cause my game too legit.
Hey, what's going on, you guys? Welcome back to Forgiven AF Podcast. This is a second chance podcast. My name is Sean Surface. Thank you guys for being here today. I'm excited about this episode. A lot of you guys, you know, I have a strong passion for fitness and nutrition. I really believe that nowadays we try to find so many different things to change the way we feel, to make ourselves feel better about ourselves, whether it's clothing, whether it's shoes, whether it's drugs, alcohol. And I really feel that one of the biggest ways to really make a change that can actually like really affect those things is nutrition and exercise. So y'all know that's something that I push. And I was lucky to a friend of mine who I'm lucky that is here with us today, Percy Bass. We actually met at a Spartan race. He had a big crew there. I'm talking, he probably had the biggest crew of anybody at this Spartan race. And this was 4 or 5 years ago. He probably had like 30 people with him. And I was like, whoever that is running that, I need to go meet him. So I think I just came up to you out of the blue and I was like, hey man, my name's Sean. I just opened a gym here. It's nice to meet you. And a lot of times people in that space can be kind of like, I don't know you, or you're new to your competition. And he didn't treat me like that at all, man. It was all love right away. He congratulated me on getting a gym. So the other day I saw that he had just written a book and it's called The Dope Method. And immediately I was like, man, I can't wait to ask him to come be on the show. So I'm gonna pass this over to him and see if you can kind of give us like a quick intro. First of all, thank you very much for being here. If you can guys kind of give me a quick intro of like your past, who you are, where you came from, how you got into this space for my listeners.
Cool, man. I appreciate the opportunity for being here, man. Yeah, man, you know, Percy Bass, owner of Head to Toe Fitness Studio, and the creator of the Dope Method. Starting off, man, I'm a registered dietitian, so I've not always been into nutrition like that. Like I've always been an athlete, but it all started, and I talk about it in the book. It was Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving coming up, but it was Thanksgiving of 2001. I was sitting at the head of the table, and we eating typical African American family. We got greens, dressing, turkey, ham, everything, right? And so we're finishing up dinner, and my mother gets up and she asked my uncle, say, hey, what do you want for dessert? He said, what you have? She was like, oh, we got some peach cobbler, we got some sweet potato pie, we got some cake, all the desserts. And he says, well, just give me a little bit of everything. And so then my grandmother, she looks at him and says, now you don't need all that with your sugar. Now, we all know what the sugar is. We know it's diabetes. And he said, well, Irene, we all got to die from something. And when he said that, like, it just totally took me back, right? And I was like, how could he just say that? Like he's just seen his brother-in-law have his fingers amputated from diabetes, leg amputated. He's in a wheelchair, but he's talking about we all gotta die from something, right? And so at that point, right then, I said, you know what? If I can just get the knowledge of nutrition for my family, my immediate family, then I would have done what I needed to do. So I came back to Dallas and searched out, programs, started school at Texas Women's University, got my degree in dietetics and institutional administration, went to Iowa State, did my dietetic internship and came back to Texas and just started being a clinical dietitian. And that's kind of where my nutrition lifestyle, just everything just kind of exploded from there. Yeah.
That's awesome. I had no idea, man. And it's really cool because well, not really cool, but I'm glad that you brought up the cultural aspect of it. You know what I mean? Because that is something, diabetes is something that does go unchecked a lot, especially in the African-American community. So that's cool that I'm not cool, but you know what I mean? Like right. It's cool that you made that connection and we're, sports-wise, did you play sports growing up in college and stuff?
Yeah. So I ran track. Well, I played football in high school, ran track, but I ran track all the way through college. And so again, I was a college athlete, but my eating habits wasn't the best, and that's kind of crazy to think. And I talk about that in the book as well. Like I was a college athlete eating, bacon double cheeseburgers at nighttime, things of that nature. And so, I was thinking about it, and as I tell some of my athletes now at our studio, like it matters. The nutrition matters, right? Like I could have been a much better athlete if I had just taken care of myself with nutrition.
That's really good. Yeah. And it's so true. All right. So let me ask you, because I want people to get this book because I know how good it is. So if you could give me, like, let's just say for our listeners, maybe like 3 pieces of advice that you would have for someone who's really doesn't know where to start out, or they're kind of confused, don't really know what to do. What are just 3 basic pieces of advice that you would give somebody?
Man, that's a whole bunch of advice I can give. Let's see. So probably number 1 would probably be start with your why. Okay. Finding out why you want to get healthy. All right. So, you might say, I want to, lose weight, and that's cool, but why do you really want to lose weight? And I know we talk about this a lot, about peeling the onion back, asking yourself why, multiple times to get to the root of it, right? So you might say, well, I want to get healthy. I want to lose weight because I'm tired of not being confident in myself, right? I talk about it in the book how if your why doesn't smack you dead in the face once you start to veer off from your goal, then your why is not strong enough. So you have to have a strong enough why to kind of course correct. People say, oh, I just want to look better. Well, I tell my ladies all the time, like, you can put on a nice dress. You can put on one of them shapers, lipstick and all of that, and you can step out and you can look stunning. So just wanting to look better is not a great why, but maybe you didn't have the energy to play around with your kids. Maybe you saw one of your family members, dealing with some type of disease. So you don't want that to happen to you. So that's a strong why, right? So I always say, man, start with your why, because your why is the gas that kind of, moves the vehicle. Right? If you don't have a why, then you don't really have anything.
That's really good. That's the same thing with the gym. When people come into the gym, we like to ask them their why. And I'll bring it up. I'll remind them of it too. Like, you know what I mean? When they start like not showing up or something, you know what? One of the main ones that I get, especially from like our middle-aged women, which is like, it almost makes me sad, is I just want to feel sexy for my husband again. Or I want my husband to look at me like he did when we first got married. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like that's deep. Like that makes me feel like, oh man, like that's a good why. That's the type of thing that you'll stick with. All right, that's a good one. What else you got?
So check this out. Mindset. So I always thought nutrition was the most important thing in a healthy lifestyle, right? But I quickly learned that it's the mindset, man. So we have to change our mindset around how we view food. We have to change our mindset around why we're doing this, right? So think of it as we used to look at food from a cultural aspect and say, well, I don't eat that because we don't eat that, right? Or when I was a kid, I didn't like something, so I don't eat it as an adult, right? So you change your mindset around how you view food and understand that food is nourishment, food is energy, and that healthy eating doesn't have to be boring or bland. So you can have the best nutrition plan, you can have the best fitness program and all of that. But if you haven't changed your mindset about how you look at things, all that's for naught, right? So, when I had to understand that, we were giving out meal plans and we was making all the macros to the T, and then, creating these fitness programs for people, and it just wasn't working, right? And I'm trying to find out why, if they just follow it, it's going to work. Well, they hadn't changed their mindset around, exercise. They hadn't changed their mindset around, eating certain foods. And so once you get your mindset good, then things will fall into place. But yeah, and I think that's the second thing, is just changing our mindset around how we view food and what food it is for us and should be for us.
That's so funny. Because like people like me and you, and it's rare that I'm in a room with someone and having the conversations of like the same things I go through, right? Mm-hmm. I give people a meal plan. We set them up on a perfect fitness routine that they're ready. We know, hey, if you follow this, you're going to get the results you want. And then it still doesn't come through, right? You're like, how can they stop doing that? Or you be like, hey, you're doing good with your eating, you staying on track. And they're like, well, the weekend. And you're like, girl, I thought that you wanted this, And the mindset thing is really strong. We kind of chopped it up beforehand, kind of said like, I know a lot of 30, 40, 50-year-old people that eat like they're 6 years old. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, I'm going to have macaroni and cheese and sweet tea.
Right.
or you know what I mean? And you're like I get it, but then you wonder why you're depressed. You wonder why you're tired and sluggish, and you have headaches all the time because you ain't drinking no water. And it is a mindset thing. You have to like get above those excuses that we have ingrained.
So what I wrote in the book about being a picky eater, I was like, if being a picky eater has gotten you diabetes and heart disease and things like that, you need to be unpicky. You know what I'm saying? Because what happens is, they'll say, well, I only eat these foods. And if these foods have led you to being overweight and all of that, and because you don't eat vegetables, you don't get enough fiber, you don't drink water and stuff like that, then you need to be unpicky. We need to figure that thing out.
That's so good. All right, that's two really good ones. Give me one more. I know this book is full of them.
Man, it was fun writing the book, man. And the third one would be understanding that nothing's gonna be perfect, right? So, I know we talked earlier about how somebody can get on and have this perfect plan, and then they fall off, and it's kind of like the analogy where you have one flat tire. Well, when you have one flat tire, you do what? You change that tire. You don't flatten the other three, right? Yeah. So, understanding that nothing's going to be perfect. Like I tell people when they say, well, do I have to follow it to a T? I say the only people who are following meal guides to a T are physique competitors, because they have to. Like every inch is being measured on stage, right? So I'm not talking to them, but that's like 1% of the population. Yeah. Understanding that, you don't have to be perfect to actually get the physique that you want. You don't have to be perfect in order to be a healthier person. I coach on the 90-10 rule. And the 90-10 rule states that if you're 100% clean 90% of the time, then 10% you can kind of have what you want. And then I've had people kind of push back and say, well, I've heard 80-20. I'm like, well, I like to get A in school. You know what I'm saying? But if I fail and I don't get an A and I get a B, I'm still doing good. So why not shoot for an A?
I like that. That's like you shoot for the stars, you miss, you're going to land whatever, something.
Right, shoot for the moon.
Yeah, land amongst the stars. Yeah, that's good. The perfection thing is one that we have to teach a lot. The thing that I find that people try to get out of with the perfection one is as soon as they mess up, it's, I'm going to start again on Monday, right? And all that really is making yourself feel okay with eating like junk the rest of the week until that Monday. You're just making yourself okay with still going. You know what I mean?
Right. It's like the fresh start. I have a fresh start on Monday. Nah, you have a fresh start at that next meal.
At that next meal, right? What were we saying earlier?
The next best thing.
The next right thing.
The next right thing, right? Yeah. The next right thing to do is just start at the next meal.
Yeah. So you not to beat yourself up, because if you're the type of person that already like is hard on yourself, you mess up and you eat a bad meal, you could really make yourself feel like crap. So you do have to really be careful that that you love yourself through this, because I've never seen someone make a full-on transformation through hating themselves. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Like, cause you see a lot of people, like if you hate yourself or if you're not happy with who you are as a person, you're just, even when you get to where you want to be, you're still not going to be happy.
Right.
So that's something we got to really be careful about. Yeah. Let me see.
And to kind of piggyback off that, man, like one of the things is so DOPE stands for decide and declare. And the O stands for optimize. The P stands for prioritize, and the E stands for emphasize consistency. So to what you were saying, man, the P, it says prioritize what? Prioritize me. And so I talk about that in the book. Like, you want to prioritize yourself. Like, you want to make sure that you're doing things. And it's kind of to people who, who are always taking care of others, right? If I can get myself healthy, then I can be here for other people, right? So it's kind of prioritize you, just like when they talk about on the plane, like you take that oxygen mask, put it on yourself first before you, help your kids and stuff. So it's prioritize you. And so like you were saying, man, that, people have to understand that they have to, do things for themselves.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that I could hear some people try to be like, prioritize myself. No, I'm supposed to prioritize my kids. But here's the thing: if you're not taking care of yourself first, then you don't have a full cup to pour into your kids and stuff. So
right.
I think that that's really good. Now, because of social media and because of just how crazy information is out there right now, and there's so many different fad diets and different opinions of people who of what they should do. What are maybe some kind of like myths or some sort of partial truths that you hear sometimes, or when it comes to people that like are trying to get back in shape, but they've taken some like wrong information. Does that make sense?
Right. One of the major things, man, and we're gonna keep. And I know you can talk to it for the fitness wise as well, but for me, man, is demonizing carbs. Like, carbs are the devil. You can't eat carbs. If you eat carbs, you're not gonna lose weight, and that's totally wrong. We talk about, we're looking at a carbohydrate and we're comparing it to processed foods, right? Like a carbohydrate it's not bad for you, right? Vegetables are carbohydrates. People don't know that. Vegetables are carbohydrates. And they're like, oh, it is? Yeah, vegetable carbohydrates. You got healthy starches. But when people think about carbs, they think about the bad stuff. Or you've been told that you can't have potatoes. You've been told you can't have rice, things of that nature. And it's totally untrue. Like if you are eating in the correct portion sizes and you could and getting in enough calories, for you, then you can lose weight, you can maintain weight. But it's when you overeat. You can overeat good stuff, right? Like you can overeat healthy pasta, or you can overeat, healthy grains. If you overeat, then you're gonna be in a caloric surplus, and you want to gain weight, right? Yeah. So yeah, man, we can't demonize carbohydrates, and that's one of the myths. One of the major myths that I keep hearing all the time is carbohydrates are bad.
I love that, because especially if you want to fuel yourself, like if you're any sort of an athlete and you try to cut out carbs completely, you're definitely not going to perform at your optimal level, because carbs are needed for efficiency and energy but it's just like you said, it's portion size. I like to try to when I'm trying to explain to someone, because technically, like a lot of people and I try to get them away from this, only care about that scale on the weight. The weight on the scale, sorry. Like, they don't care. I say to women all the time, what if by tomorrow morning you were 20 pounds lighter, but it had to be all muscle that you lost? Would you be willing to do that? At least half of the women say yes. Mm-hmm. But they don't realize that they would just look like a wet paper bag. Like skin would just be sagging, hanging everywhere, because your muscle is your structure, is your frame. So it's like trying to teach. I really like to. Here's an age-old argument that you hear all the time when people are talking about the weight or whatever of muscle and fat. So yes, a pound is a pound, right? A pound weighs a pound. But if you take a shoebox, the same size shoebox, fill it with fat, and take the same size shoebox and fill it with muscle, the one with muscle is going to be way heavier, right? So have you had that argument?
Oh, yeah.
I understand a pound is a pound, but people want to always. So what I try to teach women is, if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing with the eating and the exercising, you might have a month where the scale still says the same thing, but you've lost 10 pounds of fat, put on 10 pounds of muscle. You're smaller, leaner, tighter, but the scale still says the same thing. So one of the big myths for me is that it can't just be all about just weight loss.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. It definitely has to be about body composition. That's why we use our InBody composition machine at our studio. Because what was happening is people were coming in and they were getting on the scale and they were like, oh man, my pants are fitting, a lot looser and I'm feeling a lot better, man, but the scale is not moving. I'm not understanding. So we wanted to make sure we had a tool that were able to show people that, hey, you're losing fat and you might be gaining muscle or you might be maintaining muscle. But you're losing fat, and that's what the goal is.
Exactly. Yep. And shout out to InBody, because we both of our gyms use the same InBodies, and I swear by those things.
Yep.
I think that they're great because you can actually show people on paper, this is what's happening. Mm-hmm. It's changed the game for us when it comes to mostly women understanding what's going on,
But have you heard the myth? And this kills me. But at your studio, have you heard that women who lift weights gonna get bulky?
Man, that's so frustrating. I know that's so frustrating because it's not the way it works at all. You only get bigger by eating in a surplus. It's really, no matter what meal plan, no matter what structure you're on, if your body burned, if your basal metabolic rate is 2,000 calories and you eat less than that 2,000 calories or whatever, you're going to lose. You eat more, you're going to gain, right?
Right.
Really, that's what it comes down to.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think so?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's just funny to me because, it's hard, to be able to tell somebody, because that's when they come in. Oh, I don't want to get bulky. Like you only way you're gonna get bulky is if you eat to get bulky. And they say, well, no, I saw this this, this person, and then you look at the picture and
You know,
it's
steroids and
exactly, it's a professional, maybe bodybuilder or something like that. And you say, well, they're getting bigger because they want to get bigger.
Yeah.
Like that's intentional.
yeah. That is a very common one. I just want to get tone. Like you hear that one all the time, and you're like, you understand that to get tone, you might actually gain a little bit of weight, because what tone is building the muscle underneath so that it tightens everything up, right? So like they don't want that. The jiggle, right? So they have to build muscle to tighten it up, because you're not going to tighten the skin up.
Right.
That's another one that's another myth that I get a lot, is people are like, how do I, some trainer told me that if I do this or whatever the nonsense is, that all my skin will tighten up.
Right.
And I mean, I've never seen it. Have you?
Nah, you got to get in there. You got to start doing some resistance.
Yeah. Strengthen up. You got to put muscle underneath to tighten everything up. That's the only thing I've ever seen to do that.
Yep. Build muscle and burn fat. That's it.
That's it. Those are, I know. We laugh about it, right? Because we understand how it works. And it's just hearing people come from like, it's just, they're confused, and it's sad. But that's why I'm going to have stuff like this. That's why we're doing stuff like this, to put knowledge out there for people. That's why it's awesome that you wrote this book. Dude, I was so excited when I saw that you wrote this book, because I know the way, you know what I mean? I know what you stand for, and I know that this isn't just a bunch of, crap. Like I understand that everything in this is science-based.
Right. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? All right, so let me see. I know more I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is fun, man.
Yeah, this is cool, right? It's fun. I like doing it because I like chopping it up with other fitness-minded people, especially, studio owners. We have the same struggles. We deal with the same thing, keeping that back door closed on memberships. Like people don't understand how what we do, bro, it's harder than people think it is.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Being an entrepreneur, period, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It can be hard, and especially in this industry. But, how we talked about earlier, it's all about building relationships. It's all about being 100% transparent, authentic. And that's how I think both of us have been successful in our businesses, man. It's just being, authentic self and building those relationships with our members.
I agree 100%. It's about relationships. People can tell if you care. You know what I'm saying? People could tell if you're just there for their money, and that they'll leave real quick. And I feel like we discussed earlier, that's why we were both able to make it through the COVID stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Because people knew that we had good hearts and we care about our people, and then that they stuck by us for that. I got a couple more things that I want to go into. What are your future plans? What do you got coming up next? Because I know that you're not just going to sit still now behind this book. You're going to write another book? You're going to get that second location? What are you going to do?
Man, people have asked me that, man. And so right now, I just really want to push the dope method. I want to have an impact. So, just get out there, do speaking engagements, just get in, maybe different companies and start just pushing the methodology, right? I'm not looking to get a second location. I just want to grow that one. I'm all about just like growing and maximizing my space. So when I kind of put out there like a teaser about the book, but I didn't tell people what it was, and people was like, "Oh, you getting a new location? You coming out to Frisco? You coming out?" And I was like, "Nah, that's not gonna be it." It's,
I definitely thought that's what your teaser was about.
No, sir. I was like, "Nah," but it was anything can happen. But I just want to grow where I'm at now. But just doing speaking engagements, getting the methodology out there.
So just in case other people are listening and have, when you say speaking engagements, what are options that you would like to do or are comfortable with? Like maybe going into businesses and speaking to their employees about nutrition, like stuff like that?
Right, 100%. So, lunch and learns, health fairs. People at the beginning of the year, everyone is wanting to get, healthy, right? But they don't have a model, or they don't know exactly what to do. So, I want to go into companies and say, hey, follow my methodology for 8 weeks, 12 weeks, and put everybody through the methodology, and show that it works, and then people can, tell other people and just, spread the word.
I would actually love to have you come and maybe put on like a presentation for our members.
Right.
That would be a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
Would you get out and do it to other gyms and stuff too?
I've been asked, man, if this is something that they can implement in other studios.
Yeah.
And, that's coming soon.
Man, that would be cool.
Yeah.
I want to be one of the first to know about that.
Yeah.
Because that would be cool. I'm always looking for just a better way to explain or show our members, how to eat and stuff. Because there's so many different things out there how to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see. Can you tell our members, I got a couple more things I want to talk about, but can you tell our members before I forget to plug this, how they find you, how they find the book, how they find just everything that is relevant?
Yeah, man. So you can get the book at thepercybass.com. You can also find me on social media or Facebook at Percy Bass, or at H2T Fitness on Instagram. And so that's how you can get in contact with me.
That's
perfect.
perfect.
Just go to thepercybass.com for the book, and then for other nutritional advice.
Yeah, that's a good one. The Percy Bass, Percy Bass, Bass. I know y'all know that. I just wanted to put it out there just so we have, because this is some good information. Now I'm gonna switch the whole direction. Okay, I have a mentorship program, and we work with at-risk youth, mostly Black and Hispanic males that have been kicked out of high school for fighting or drugs, and I love the way you carry yourself. I love the way you went through school. You know what I mean? You have never, the way, it doesn't look to me like you're the type of person that's going to let you tell someone this ain't for you or no. You know what I mean?
Right.
So could you give me, and you don't have to like rush this decision. Rush this answer. I know I didn't tell you this ahead of time because this is I want this to be authentic. What would you tell, yourself at 16, 17, you're young Black male, the world is kind of crazy. You know what I mean? Like, what sort of advice would you give? Because I look up to you, man. I think that you're very respected. You carry yourself well. You have great manners. You know what I mean?
I appreciate that.
Do you, what sort of advice would you give to a young 16-year-old Percy that maybe doesn't have the same, life? A lot of our kids are coming from single family households, already struggling with drugs and stuff like that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, man. So I look back. You say that, it takes me back to me being 16, right? And I grew up in San Antonio, Texas, and I grew up in the height of the gangs being really, really prevalent. Like when I was it was sophomore year. In my sophomore year, we were all on CNN. We had a big shooting at my high school, and so I was in the heart of it. But I never, I had my friends, right? I mean, we all have our friends, but I just wasn't trying to be in that lifestyle. And I think it was because, first of all, my mom, I didn't want to disappoint her, right? And then I had people in my life that I looked up to, and I didn't want to disappoint. And so I would tell, man, a 16-year-old that might not have the same upbringing, don't follow the crowd, man.
That's good.
You can be cool. You still can be cool. I was class president. I was captain of the football team. All that. I was cool, but I just didn't follow the crowd. And because I didn't follow the crowd, I think I was more respected. Like, you have those people who would say, hey, man, don't mess with Bass, or, we're not gonna let Bass come with us because you don't want to get in trouble. We don't want to get him in trouble. So I think because I was like, I'm not gonna follow the crowd and stuff like that, I think that they looked at me differently. But yeah, you don't have to follow the crowd. You can be who you are, and don't be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Like, be smart and be around people who have your best interests, because not everybody does.
That's such good advice, man. Because I feel like a lot of times, and I don't know if it's nowadays, it's like culture nowadays, but like what is considered cool, stuff that, when it comes to entertainment, whether it's music, stuff like that, stuff going on, isn't necessarily what's going to leave you cool down the road. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like, it's just sad seeing these young rappers and just losing their life and stuff like that over stuff that's just not important. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I like that you said you had a lot of people around you that that you didn't want to disappoint, that you looked up to. It's almost like you had mentors. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that that's something that's very important to have. Men in your life that like you said, have your best interests at heart. And I think that's awesome advice, dude.
Yeah, man. And I wanted to tell you, I was going to tell you before we got off, man, I really like what you're doing with that, man. Just kind of looking at from afar, the whole second chance thing, man, like with these kids that y'all mentoring, like that's awesome, because you're giving back. Like, literally, man, you're giving back, and you're kind of letting these kids know, hey, man, I'm in this thing with you, and I just really want to give you flowers, man. That's what's up.
Thanks, Percy. That means a lot, because sometimes I get nervous about how it appears on the outside, because I say this to James all the time, and he goes, "Joe, shut up about that." But like, my heart is for the minority boys. Like, you know what I mean? I know, and I feel weird when I start saying that, you know, like, but I grew up in Philly and all my friends were, well, not all, but a lot of my friends were Black, Hispanic, a lot of Italian, you know, so like I come from a very diverse background, and I saw a lot of my friends not aspire to be who they could have been because they fell for a lot of the rhetoric of, man, oh, you don't see the same opportunities. You're Black. Don't even try. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that there's not truth to some of that at all. I'm very empathetic towards it. I'm just saying that, like, I know that some of these kids could have really made it if they would have actually tried. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that whole, I want to make sure that I don't ever try to come across as like this white savior, like, because that's not the look. You know what I mean? That's not what I'm trying to be.
Right.
I just want to try to give them, reach back and help. You know what I mean? So they don't end up in prison like I did, or just, you know, I don't know if it makes sense, but
Yeah, I mean, absolutely it does, man. Like I said, it just shows that, you know, you have a heart for that. Like, I mean, that's your passion. I mean, that's like you say, forgiving. You know what I'm saying? That's
it's cool, right?
Yeah,
it really
AF. Yeah, that's what's up.
And it's a play. It stands for always faithful, but the AF is, you know what AF stands for? Like,
absolutely.
That's what it's supposed to catch. It's supposed to be.
That's what got me. I was like, forgive it.
It's cool, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm glad that you got it. Can I get you? Do you mind? Will you sign this for me? This book?
100%, man.
Look at this. Where we at? This book right here, The Dope Method, y'all. Percy Bass. I definitely recommend y'all get this book, especially if you need a little bit of help trying to get that nutrition right, because honestly, it will change your life. Like, it will. You want your energy levels back. You want to start feeling good about yourself. But again, I think that was good. I think we gave some good information. Percy, thank you for being on the show with me, man.
Oh, absolutely, man.
It was cool. Everyone's got the plug on how to find him, thepercybass.com. He's got the book on there, and I guess that's it. You got anything else you want to say? You good?
Man, I just want to say, you know, y'all keep supporting the Forgiving AF podcast. I mean, this right here is wonderful. And I mean, go get the book. You know, if you need any help with your nutrition and fitness, go get the book. I mean, you know, Sean has, you know, a great fitness studio out here in Mansfield. I have a fitness studio in Grand Prairie. If you're looking for a place to get fit, if you're looking for a relationship, you know, with a fit fam, just holler at both of us.
100%. That's a good word. Remember, you guys, you're loved, you're forgiven, and there ain't nothing you can do about it. See y'all next week.